All right, awesome. All right, so now we get the recording going. This is going to be 3 steps to building an REI machine, what I wish I knew when I got started. And, like I said just a minute ago, that, it took me far too long in this business to get to where I was at an organized level, where I was treating the business like a true business. And, I didn't do as well as I could have done. And looking back in hindsight, there's so much that I could have learned. So I wanted to share some of those lessons along with the demo of FlipPilot 2.0. So it wasn't just, getting in, clicking around, showing you menus and stuff like that, like showing really what's the purpose of it, why was it built, how is it going to help, and how has it helped me and other businesses that have been using it so far in beta. Now today we are launching, so it's very cool. Like it's a good timing because it's put through its paces, and we learned a lot from FlipPilot 1.0. We built this one to be super simple. And I'm actually glad that we had some of the issues we had in 1.0 because it made us rethink everything so that we innovated. And I think we came up with something completely different. Like I think the way this operates is just so much better because I like using it. I love using it. And the people who have been in beta have loved using it. And that was sort of the goal, right? Because I think there's apps and software that we use that we just feel better, we like using better. And we wanted to create that with FlipPilot because real estate investors should have something that helps them, but also, they actually like using. They don't have to click around all these different places to get stuff. So what is the goal today? And also I want to thank for everybody that's joining a little bit later and didn't get to hear that first part. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know we're all busy and I'm going to keep all of the Corona talk. I'm personally sick of hearing about all that stuff, so I'm not going to make any more mention of that. But thanks for joining. We're going to get into this. The goal for today's call is obviously, like I just said, demoing FlipPilot 2.0 and to show you how to build your real estate investing machine so that you have a real business in 3 simple steps, just to keep it simple. I'm going to show you guys how I went, from being busy and constantly fried and frazzled at the end of every day, killing myself, to keeping my flipping business going. And basically it was kind of like this is what I was dealing with. Like my business really kind of looked like this here, where I had leads coming in. Let me mute this for now. I had leads coming in to my machine that wasn't really a machine. It was more like a rusted out lawnmower kind of thing. And then, my results weren't too great. I was witnessed by the pile of pooey over here. And then FlipPilot was really built to allow the things that I'd learned, getting the leads in, turning those into deals, and actually making money from them. Okay. So yeah, there was money made before, but looking back on Flipping Houses Exposed, when I talked about 34 weeks and the 495 leads that I generated, I only did I think 11 deals out of those 495 leads, which is horrible. And, had things been structured in what I'm showing you today, that could have been way different. It could have been more like 50 deals probably. So yeah, so kind of painful to think how many years went by with that kind of thing happening, but hey, that's how we learn. So I was going to give you a quick sneak peek of FlipPilot just in case you're curious. I'm not going to have too many slides. We're going to go through some typical slides and then we're going to get into really demoing it, but just really quick, let me share out, what FlipPilot looks like here for you. All right, so you should see that now. This is FlipPilot. You can see it's kind of like a pipeline software. So if you use Trello or Pipedrive or something like that, it should be pretty familiar, where you've got different stages. And so it kind of models your workflow. And then we'll get into putting cards in here and moving them through your workflow and all the different powerful things you can do for the pipeline, follow-ups, communications, stats, all kinds of good stuff like that. But it's very simple and clean, and it's to be something that you see at a glance, what's going on with the business. All right, so let's go back to the slides. And so I'd ask too right now, just really quick, turn off and close distractions. If you got Facebook open over there, please close it and just take the time. We're going to try to make this pretty quick, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how much we get into the demo part of it. And, because what I'm going to show you guys today has made me financially free, has really helped me to transform my life and everything. And it could change your life too. So just, focus a little bit on what we're sharing today and close the distractions out. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to show you guys how to get FlipPilot 2.0 for free, not just a trial, not just free for like 5 days or 2 minutes. Like, it's actually free account. And that's going to be very cool. I know a lot of people are excited about that. I'm also glad and lucky, actually, and grateful for Don Costa, my good friend, Flip Talk podcast, for sharing his Ready, Build, Scale lead generation training stuff as well for any new people that are really working to get those leads come into the system. It's very cool that he was willing to share that for free. And then also going to throw in email messages for follow-up so that you can copy and paste those and use them regardless of what you do. And it just helps, because I think follow-up is just like the key. It's the absolute key for all of this, structured, organized business, but with follow-up. So like I was talking about before, my business was operating, and, I was really just knocking out the to-do list every day, right? I had my notebook, I had the leads in there, I had some follow-ups I had to call, and just marking all that stuff off the list. But I was like just completely fried by the end of the day, and it felt like I just could never do enough to make sure that I had leads coming in, that it was going to be consistent. I was constantly worried that things were just going to stop working or not work out, and I was just fried and frazzled and not really enjoying it at all. But I went from that to setting up my business in a simple, organized way that's actually helping to enjoy the lifestyle and enjoy the business, right? Enjoy this really incredible business that produces such great chunks of change when we do a deal, right? And we should be enjoying it, not fried and frazzled at the end of every day. And I think that requires organization, a certain level of organization, being professional in our business. So, who this call is for. If you're on this call, this call is for you, even if you aren't at the point where you're generating a whole lot of leads. Even if you're just getting started, I would have absolutely killed to have this information when I got started and present it in a way that I didn't just put it in a binder or in Google Drive documents and not really use it, right? Like, I'm going to show you guys how to use FlipPilot to have this stuff be a part of the way you operate your business. So if you're not getting deals that you want and you want to find consistency so you can go full-time or grow your business, this is for you. If you're not sure you're spending your time as efficiently as you could, or if you feel unorganized and worried that leads and deals are slipping through the cracks, which a lot of us do for a long time and don't really know how to correct that. We just keep putting out fires every day. If you feel like there is simply too much to keep track of, it's causing you to feel fried at the every day, driving you to drink, we don't want that. And that's what we're here for. So if you don't know a whole lot about me, I've been through a lot of things with this business, and since 2003, made it through the crash, 2008, hundreds of deals. I lost track after like 500 and something, but mostly flip and wholesale. Host of the Flipping Junkie podcast and founder of LeapPropel real estate investor websites and FlipPilot. And more importantly, I worked this business part-time during the first 3 years and wore all the hats myself, constantly worried whether I'd consistently get deals and be able to provide for my family. And that was, something that was really tough to struggle through and end up fried every day like that. So I've gone through growing the business and building a team and expanding that way. And that taught me I didn't really want to kill myself trying to do 100 deals a year. And I think in the podcast, I even mentioned one of those years trying to do 100 deals. And it wasn't the best thing to do for me, at least. And, I found that it wasn't enjoyable. There was more money made, but then we also spent a lot more. So the level of profit did not coincide with that. So just killing myself to work harder, really. And I got into this business for the lifestyle. When I tried to grow my business and manage software business at the same time, my lifestyle suffered tremendously and I was not having fun at all. I just wanted to enjoy the process. I wanted to enjoy, everything that I did every day. I didn't want a big team. I just wanted to do a couple deals a year, enjoy my life while I did that. And I find that a lot of the real estate investors that I know that to this day just absolutely love every single day that they're in this business, it's because they're not killing themselves trying to do 100 deals. And, if that's you, that's great. If you're that person who wants to set up the business and have that big team like that, that's great if that's the way you're wired. But I just found out I didn't want to really do that. And so I needed a new plan. I needed to figure out how I could do this and enjoy the business. and set it up to where I wasn't killing myself trying to make sure I was consistent enough without the big team. So what I'm going to show you guys today is the 3 steps that came out of that, why we built FlipPilot 2.0 to accommodate and facilitate that process so that we actually use it. And like I said, so they don't just end up like with processes and workflows and stuff that are in documents, but not actually being followed or used because we're so busy putting out fires. And so, yeah, I mean, it seems kind of a little like off here, but did we just become best friends? Let's do karate after this. I love the Step Brothers movie. Hope you do too. But who wants to see this? You guys, I'm going to open the chat up because I don't even have that open. There, we got people in the chat. Excited to be here. Michael visiting from NorCal. Looking forward to it. Orange County. Don is a rock star. Yeah, he is, Matthew. Yeah, thanks everybody in the chat. All right, so if you guys are ready to see this, let's just get right into this. The setting up the machine, the 3 steps, basically starting out with mapping your workflow. You got to know what's going to happen when you get those leads coming through and doing your deals. And then creating your processes to make sure at each step of the way, as a lead and deal works through your workflow, that you're doing things that you've built up over time that you've realized that you needed to do. And some of that built up over time is stuff that doesn't happen all of the time, like situations that you face. And if it doesn't happen all the time, and you're making a process to make sure that you can deal with it in the smart way that you figure out how to deal with it, you got to have that somewhere where you're going to be able to see that again, right? Because if you dealt with something 2 years ago and it comes up again, and then you've got to research and figure out the best way to do it all again, you know, it's not very efficient. And if you start adding people to your team, they don't know about all those things that you learned and we're doing when those situations come up. Then the next step after that is automating so that we have more time to focus on the more important pieces of the day-to-day in the business, right? And typically that ends up being, you know, dealing with the new leads that come in, talking and getting a hold of those sellers and meeting with the sellers and getting those properties under contract, right? And making sure the rehabs are done in a good amount of time, follow-up is being done, all that kind of stuff. So automate the places that's not as necessary for you to be doing manually every single day. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to map out the workflow. What are the stages the leads and deals go through as you work them? And then keep track of what is where and how long it's been there. You know, just like a whiteboard, a lot of real estate investors I know, almost every one of them actually has a whiteboard with the properties and where they're at currently in their workflow and their business. And so that's like at a glance, you know what's being worked and what's where, right? And it keeps you on top of it. And that's kind of how we built FlipPilot to be sort of that virtual whiteboard, but including leads that you're working as well. And then prioritizing the most important tasks, you know, making contact with those new leads and following up. And so we're gonna go and set up that workflow and FlipPilot using the pipeline. And so I'm going to switch the screen over so that you can see how we're going to do that. Okay, so you should see FlipPilot now. If you don't, just in the chat, let me know. I got a million windows open here. All right, and so by default, this is what you're going to see inside of FlipPilot is you have a new column. This is where every new lead comes into your workflow. So if you have automation set up, if you have you know, website linked up where you got leads coming in, they're going to pop up here. If you integrate CallRail, new calls and texts from new numbers are going to populate new records here. And then if you manually add the records, they're going to pop up over here in this new column. All right, and then as you work it, if you get one, right, you got to make contact with them if you haven't talked to them already. So I would move that record over into contact not made. Appointment set, once you get the appointment set, negotiating once you've made an offer and you haven't had it accepted yet, you're negotiating, that one goes there. Then it can be under contract for wholesaling or for buying, lining up rehab, rehabbing, for sale, under contract selling. So this is the default, right? You can change these and create your own. You can add in whatever you like. And I'm going to show you guys adding a record here so that we can just see what that's like a little bit, because I think that there's a spot here what I would like to add, like the analyzing a property. So I'm going to look on Zillow really quick for a property. So I'm just going to use 141 East Woodlawn here. It's for sale, and show you how to add this record. I'm going to just say that I was MLS combing for this one. I created a campaign for that. I'll show you later how to set up your marketing campaign so you contribute every lead that you have to some sort of marketing that you've done. And I've already forgotten what the address was, 141 East Woodlawn. So as you start typing, you know, we've got the lookup here, and there's the property. So I don't have to type the whole thing out. Saves a little bit of time. I'm just going to say, you know, this is John Seller or something, and then just give some random number. And I'm just going to assign this to Amelia Earhart on my team, and then it creates that record. Okay, so now I've got this this new record. This is a new lead, right? I've entered into the system. So I want to make contact with them and want to view that. And so what I'm going to do is say, okay, this one came in. And by the way, this is all real time, right? Because as you're working in FlipPilot, your day-to-day is working what leads and deals you have right here in the pipeline. So you're not clicking around anywhere. Everything is like right here. And as you're working each one of these, you simply click and it'll pop up and you've got all your info. And we'll go through this here in just a minute. But as you go over to the next one and you're working all these records, you're still always right where you were. Like you're not having to go back and go to some other page and end up, you know, 5 levels deep where you don't even know what's going on. And if you have questions also, by the way, there's in the chat, you can go ahead and put stuff. And I got the team here, the great people on my team, Josh and Ginger, Matt, all these, and Nathan, all of them are there to help also if you have questions as we go. And at the end, I'll have some time to answer some of those as well if they didn't get answered. But, you know, basically with this new one coming in, I'm going to want to make contact now. So I know that I've looked at it. I need to make contact with them because I determined this is not spam. This is something that I'm working. I can see my temperature here is just warm and it's from the MLS combing, right? So I'm working this one. And let's go ahead and go in here. I'm going to show you here the different things that we can do. So I can show that I entered the status just now and that I've given myself a certain amount of time. And I'm going to show you guys that in a minute here for that to be done. So I know that things are happening for it. The status is contact not made. The MLS combing was the campaign. If I know the true motivation, I can set that here. This is going to help me track what the underlying reason of why they're selling is for use in negotiating and you know, like talking with them about their situation, all that kind of stuff. The exit strategy, if I'm going to wholesale it, flip it, you can keep track of all that. And then the lead temperature. So I can keep track of the hot ones and know that I'm going to follow up those first. Now we have a map and we have a Google Street image that just pop up automatically, the property info, contact information. If we integrate with CallRail and the Pro account, you can make calls directly from here using your CallRail numbers and text from here using your CallRail text phone numbers. And then the property information and lead info right here. And so if I'm entering this stuff in, you know, one of the things that I'm seeing here is I don't have anything for the Zillow link, and I want to keep track of all that information that's on Zillow. So what I'm going to do is come over here to configurations, and under custom fields, I can create a new field so I can always keep track of my Zillow link. So I'm going to do Zillow link, and I'm going to go ahead and put that just at the end of the lead information section, and I'm going to make the type of field a URL so that I can paste that URL into it. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. Now, if I go back to my pipeline, every single record is now in the lead section going to have this spot. Where's the spot here? Let me refresh this real quick. So the spot down here for the Zillow link. So now over in Zillow, if I go to the 141 East Woodlawn and I get that link, I can go right there and I can paste it in and then save the information. And so now anytime I'm on this record, all I got to do is click the little thing, the link, and it's going to go and open that up into a new tab so I can keep track of all that. There's different type of fields that you can add that make it really nice to be able to keep the information that you want for each record. All right. So the next thing that we had talked about was keeping track of what's where and how long it should be there. So there's an allowable amount of time for each of these statuses. This is to make sure that things aren't just sitting and you don't really know what needs to be worked on. basically priority ends up being usually on the left here, right when you open up new, right? New records typically take the cake because you want to make contact right away to be the first to respond to that seller so you can likely get that deal. You notice this card here has the green stripe on it, right? And that's saying that because I just dragged it over and I have 2 days to make contact that I gave myself for this column. So they've got 2 days to be able to do this. Now let's, if I go in here and I look at each one of these statuses, I can go in and I can actually change this to be whatever I want. So if you feel like 2 days is too much, you can decrease that by as much as you want right there. And what happens is as it gets closer to that time, right, the due time is right here, Friday at 10:18 a.m. Once it gets closer to that, this is going to go yellow and then red. Okay, so if you've got 3, 4, 5 different records you've been trying to make contact with, the one that's coming due soonest is going to be at the top, and it's going to be likely yellow or red, right? So as you glance at all the records in your pipeline, no matter where they are, depending on what you've set for how long they should be there, it's going to be red or green or yellow, right? Green, you probably got some time. The red ones need to be addressed because they've already passed how long they should have been there. So you know that you or your team is not keeping up with what needs to be done. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you guys, because we have this integrated with CallRail, and I'm going to show you guys a new record coming in from a phone call. Josh, I hope you can hear me. Can you go ahead and call one of the numbers that I have in this account? And so he's going to call, and it's going to create a record from that call coming in. He's typing people in the chat, so let's see if he got that to do the call.
Yeah, on right now, Danny.
All right, cool. All right, so he's going to call this number. I'm just going to let it go to voicemail. I'm going to show you sort of, what it's like on a day-to-day basis with this stuff coming in. So he's calling my phone, and I'm going to let it go to voicemail. So it's going to take a little bit of time. So there it shows up already, right? Because that call is coming in. You notice that automatically just came up in real time. And so if I'm there at my computer, it's still ringing. It's going to go to voicemail. I can answer that call, and I can click open the record. And I can start asking all the questions I need to ask. I can enter the property information, lead information, any notes, all that kind of stuff while I'm on the call with them right there. It's already got the phone number. I can add their name. If it didn't populate, this one populated already. I didn't know Josh changed his name to Veronica, but actually he talked about that earlier, but he doesn't know why it keeps popping up as Veronica. It's caller ID. But anyway, that's what we can do with that. So let's assume he's going to leave a voicemail. I'll show you another cool thing with that. But let's assume that, we got that call, and I got it and I see it. So I'm moving it over here because I'm working on it. And I couldn't get a hold of him. I tried to call him back, and I could not get a hold of him. So at this point, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create a scheduled contact to remind myself. So if I just go here and I'm going to remind myself to try to make contact today. I'm going to say at like 12 p.m. And I'm going to make this record now due at that time because I'm setting my scheduled contact, my reminder to be due at that time. So this record will go yellow and then red when it gets close to this time. I'm going to add that scheduled contact. All right. And so now I've got a scheduled contact, and you see it right here on the card. It says next scheduled contact today at 12 p.m. to call. Okay. So that's part of the thing that we're going to do day to day as well. You're going to be working your records on the pipeline, but you're also going to be making follow-ups, right? Scheduled contacts calls. And so over in follow-ups, we have our scheduled contacts listed in order. All right. So we have all of the scheduled contacts that we need to make right here. We didn't know the address, but if I click this, here's the property record for that call. And if you notice now, no matter where I open this record, it's going to show this. I now have this recording, right? So over here on my comms in my activity log, I've got the recording I can actually listen to and find out what's going on with this record. And I don't know how long he left that, but it's going to take a little bit to come up. But these recordings will show here, and you can play them and listen to what the voicemail was. And if you have it set in CallRail to record those calls, say you're driving, right? Most of us as investors are driving around town all the time. If you get a call for a lead, I used to have to pull over and write and ask the questions, right? How many bedrooms, bathrooms, what are you asking? Why are you selling? And I would have to write all that down. And then whenever I got back to the office, I'd have to put it into the system. And so the cool thing about this that I absolutely love is that now whenever I'm driving and I get a call from a seller, I can take that call, and being that I've got CallRail recording it, I can just ask all the questions and that I normally ask and be conversational because I'm not writing stuff down. They're not waiting for me to write stuff down. And then when I get back to the office, I've got that new record in my pipeline because the call came in, and then I've got the recording. This is the wrong one here. I've got the recording that I can play of that call where I talk to them, and I can play it. And while I'm playing it, listening to it again, I can fill out all the information. So I absolutely love that part of it. It keeps it all there. And not to mention, if you have a team, everybody else can also go back and listen to that recording, or you can listen to it later and get that information again to refresh yourself on why this seller was selling, which is so important. Okay, so let's move on and talk about, because again, we're still tracking how long the record should be in a certain column. Now, the other thing is things like appointments. Appointments are for a specific date and time, right? So saying that it should be in that column for 2 hours or 2 days doesn't make any sense. So we also have this idea of a required date. So ensure change by requiring date is what we have set for this column. You can see it says right here, required date. So whenever I move that record over into that column, it's going to have me put a date in to be due by, right? And that should be the appointment date most of the time, right? Because that's when it's due. It's like when you have that appointment. So let's go back into this record. Let's say I made contact, and I'm going to set an appointment. I'm going to add an appointment here, and we're going to set that for, let's say they couldn't show it until Friday, 10 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and set that. Amelia's going to go, and I'm going to set, actually, I'm going to leave this just the way it is right here. I'm just going to create this appointment for this time. And so now I have an appointment. If I scroll down here, I've got my appointments for 5/29 at 10 a.m., okay? I also have this linked up with my Pro account into my Google Calendar so that I can see that appointment. And if I close this, so now I have appointment set, right? So I'm going to go ahead and drag this over to appointment set because I've already set my appointment. And I can choose the date and time again, or I can just use this next appointment date and time, which is what we want. And so now this record will not be due until Friday at 10 a.m. So you see which appointments are next in your appointment set column, right? Now your acquisitions people, or if it's you going to look at the properties, have a Google Calendar that you're using to know when your appointments are. You know, having it linked up through FlipPilot does that. And here's the calendar here. Here's the new one I just created. So I've got that here. I've got that new appointment. I didn't set an address for that record yet, so otherwise it would show the address up here, obviously. And that's why that's not doing that. All right, so the other places in our workflow that you want to use required dates are when you have something under contract, right? Because the closing is going to be some specified date, right? So you can use required date then. When you got a rehab going, you know, the rehab due date, when it's supposed to be done, you can set a required date. Now, this is super helpful as you're doing the deals, because I don't know how many times in the past I would have meetings going through my whiteboard of properties, right? And looking at everything and say, wow, that property was supposed to be done 2 weeks ago and I didn't even realize it. You know, the contractor's taking way too long. You know, this is going to show you, because it's turning yellow and then red, that that property has been in rehabbing too long because it went past the date specified for when that rehab was gonna do that. All right, so this is the workflow. This is how you know whether a property, lead, or deal has been in that column for too long and needs to be addressed through our color coding here. So you can configure this the way that makes sense and then tweak it, right, as you go. You know, if you find that a new record you want to be moved within 5 minutes, like you have somebody dedicated to new leads coming in, then you can set that to like 5 minutes, and then it'll turn red really quickly And anytime you log in, you see the same screen. And so you're going to see, you know, these red records, you know, they're not addressing them quickly. So it's a very cool way to stay on top of all of that stuff and just see everything at a glance. So you guys liking this? You guys seeing the power of this and being able to set up things visually instead of just having like a list of properties where it's kind of hard to determine what's going on where with all your leads and deals. All right, cool. Yeah, see a couple things there. So we're going to move on. The next thing that we talked about in setting up our workflows, Robert says absolutely. Cool, man. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate you chatting there. So the next thing that we need to do is prioritize the most important task. Okay, so when we have a new record that's here, and I see this red badge up here, okay, this shows me how many are in the new column. This is important because if I'm over here working on my follow-ups and I'm doing my scheduled contacts and I'm making calls and stuff and opening records, and a new one comes in through like a web lead or something like that, I've got notifications, but this also shows me right here, oh, wait a minute, I got a new one over here in my pipeline, and I can address that, right? And then our algorithm for this color coding helps you to know also like yellow, red, okay, the red ones absolutely need priority. They've just been in this status for too long. They haven't been moved out. So my acquisitions person or me, if I've got red records and appointments set, it means I'm not doing the proper maintenance of the records, right? I'm not keeping up with whether I went to that appointment, the notes for the record, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not on top of it and I'll know it because these will turn red. Now the follow-up page is the other priority, right? So we're either working our active leads and deals or we've got our follow-ups going on with our scheduled contacts. And the scheduled contacts page is pretty cool too because you can even make these calls from here if you've integrated CallRail. You can actually, you know, dial that number out. What it's going to do is say, you know, which number should I call from, and then the phone number I want it to call me at so that it comes to my cell phone and connects us. So I can then talk on my cell phone, but it looks like it's coming through my marketing number that they had called, which makes it seamless, right? If you make a call to somebody and later on that call, you get a call from a different number, you don't really know that that's that person that you called. And FlipPilot with the CallRail integration allows that to be seamless to where they get a call back from the same number that they called. And even more important is those communications, if you have it set to record, are going to be attached to that record, right? So that all your communication happens, it's attached to that record within FlipPilot, keeping you completely organized with everything that's going on with that record and that lead and your entire team. You guys will always be on the same page. All right, so that's the workflow. That's setting up the pipeline and setting up how long things should be there. Let's go back to the slides. And now we're going to talk about creating processes. So what needs to happen at each of these stages of the workflow? We can create checklists to ensure that the process is always followed. And we can improve and tweak those checklists as we come across new situations and we just grow in our business from experience. And that's really what you need to have, right? Because when I had those processes written down in documents in a Google Drive somewhere, or even in a binder, I never ever went and looked at those again. Right? I created them and then I just never bothered to look at them again. And so how was I going to improve those processes if I wasn't even using them, right? And so we built FlipPilot to have your processes right there in your software, your management, right? So that you're actually using them. Now, the thing about why we don't tend to use the processes we create, if we even get that far in the business, is because, and this is Seth Williams, my good friend, you know, I was talking with him the other day and I was showing him FlipPilot and he talked about building habits and this book, Atomic Habits, which I have not read yet, but it sounds pretty impressive. But, you know, the thing is, whenever you want to change your behavior, that book talks about asking yourself, how can I make it obvious? How can I make it attractive? How can I make it easy? And how can I make it satisfying? Okay. And so the cool thing was that we were talking about was FlipPilot actually makes it to where all those things can be true so that you can build that habit. And I'm going to show you, of course, how to set up these processes inside of FlipPilot here. So like I said, again, whenever we're working this record, and I'm trying to make this more like real life you're using it, you're going along with a record for a lead or a deal through the system, what's going to happen, right? So we got a new lead here, contact not made. We made contact finally. So, okay, now we need to analyze this deal before we go to the appointment, right? Because we want to know how much we can offer for this property. So what I'm going to do, because I don't have one here, I'm going to go ahead and add a status within this that's called analyzing. And I'm going to place it right before appointment set. And the acceptable time that I'm going to do this is, like, I'm just going to give 2 hours because I really want that analysis to be done quickly and get it out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and create this. So now I'm in an analyzing column. But the thing is, I have certain things that I want done every time a deal is analyzed, that I want to make sure is done before I go to an appointment, because I don't want to go to the appointment and realize I never ran comps. I never, looked into any scenarios for code compliance, all this kind of stuff that could be, helpful in what I'm going to offer the seller, right? So what we can do to create this process is use a status checklist. All right, so all I have to do is start adding things in. So I could enter true motivation to make sure that me or somebody on my team is going to enter the true motivation. I can adjust the lead temperature. After I talk to them, I should know, how motivated are they, have a good idea. Obviously, we're going to pull comps and enter those into the notes, so we have those. So when they go on the appointment, we can drive by and look at those comps, right, and verify them. I'm going to enter analysis without repairs because I haven't seen the house yet. That way, analysis is super easy at the house. All I have to do is figure out repair estimate, and then I have my maximum allowable offer. I can also make note of any special circumstances. So if I happen to look on Google, map view or something, and I notice that the neighbors have a bunch of abandoned vehicles in the yard or something like that, it's like, hey, check out the neighbors and make sure that's not going to hurt the resale value. So make note of any special considerations and notes. So now I'm going to go ahead and save the status. And you'll notice now our new status has checklist right there in our workflow. So the very cool thing about this is once we move this property we've made contact with over into analyzing, it now has a checklist icon here, and it shows me that 0 of 5 of those have been done. So the reason why this is also very cool is nobody on your team, including yourself, can drag this over and do anything with it because you have an incomplete checklist. Okay, so this is going to verify that everything that you want done is done. And if I click into this and I go down into that status checklist, I love this. You can go in and make sure that you're getting all these things done. I could enter the true motivation up here. True motivation, let's say they're just got health issues. And then, adjust the lead temperature. Let's say these people want to sell now, so it's hot. And, pull comps, all that kind of stuff. And so it's not done yet. So I got 2 of 5. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And you'll see I still cannot do that. And you can notice that the lead temperature is now hot. And I've got 2 of 5 completed. So once I do complete it, though, boom, boom, boom. All right, go a little bit slower there. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I've got 5 of 5, got 100% complete. Now it's green. So at a glance, even, we're able to know what's completed and what's not, right, regarding all of the items. So if I have multiple properties that I'm analyzing, I know at a glance which ones are complete and not, because it'd be gray. Now it's green, unless you're colorblind, right? But I know it's green. So this one can go over here, and I can set the due date for the appointment. Let's say it's going to be tomorrow at 1 p.m. And I can add that required date now for that. Now I don't have a checklist there because this status didn't have a checklist. But I can go back in and I can see that the checklist was completed, from before, and I can look and see all that kind of stuff. So it's very cool. You can see that the checklist was completed over here in the notes and activity section. So I can see in a timeline what's all happened with this property right there. So it's very cool. It's a great way. You can do this for any status at all. So if we want to create an appointment checklist, right? So you're going to want certain things done at the appointment. you know, namely that an offer is made, right? If you don't make an offer at an appointment, what are you doing? So you can enter the repair estimate would be one thing. You can calculate the maximum allowable offer once you have those repair estimates. And then you can make the offer, you can record the offer. So if you wanted to, in this appointment set one, have that checklist, you can create one. It'll show up here in status checklist, and you can do that for that. And down here is where you would add the analysis. So you can do the quick analysis here. And then you can add your offer that you made here, who made it, whether it was you or whether the seller was countering you, all that kind of stuff. And then they can check off that and make sure it's all done before they move it into negotiating, so that you know that you or your acquisitions person did all the things that you always need to do when you go to an appointment, right? So it could be that even under analyzing, we could have an appointment prep, right? If you wanted to adjust this and add things like appointment prep, where you want them to put together, comparable solds that you would sell, like show the seller that, hey, these are other properties are similar. These are what they sold for. So what I'm offering you is in line with that. You can have all of that stuff. And then if you have a checklist over in appointments, one thing is that you might want to make sure that you or your team gave them your credibility packet, right? If you don't have a credibility packet, this is huge. You need to make one and get reviews or recommendations from friends and family and professionals in business, realtors and stuff like that. But make this like trifold brochure or anything that you can give to sellers to show some credibility. And that would be maybe one item that you have on your checklist. But as you can see, we've been talking just about getting the lead and going to appointment, but you can have checklist within, for closings, right before closing, to make sure you got in, like, that you got your insurance and all that kind of stuff done. Okay, and then somebody like Carson's asking about pictures. So once you get pictures too, if you're on an appointment, you might have a checklist item to upload pictures into the drive folder. So for 141 East Woodlawn, okay, let's say that we did go to that appointment, we got some pictures, and I've got a Google Drive here. I'm gonna go ahead and add a folder, 141 East Woodlawn. Then we're gonna create that. And now from my phone, I can upload all those pictures into my folder here. So back on the record, one thing that I can do is over on the left, I can add a drive folder. Okay, come on, Google. I don't know why it's not letting me select it. There it goes. I can go ahead and add that, select that folder, and now it's attached to it. So every time I come in this record, all I got to do is click this, and I'm going to actually click the link there, and it's going to take me right into that folder where I have the pictures and documents for the closing, all that stuff. And the reason why we integrated with the Drive was because that way you still control. And thanks, Beth says that's brilliant, well done. And yeah, okay, you're probably talking to me. Okay, so it's really cool because you then control all of your accessibility, like your permissions, your sharing. Google Drive gives you so much power with that, right? And then you also control all of your information, right? Your videos, your images, your documents, that's all under your control, right? But you have access to it, linking it to your record in FlipPilot. Heaven forbid, for some reason, you decide to go away from FlipPilot, you still control all of your stuff and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry about contacting us to get all those images and get those documents. You always maintain control. So we did that for simplicity's sake and to just give you a whole lot more power to control what you're doing with your stuff. So I really love that feature about it. It's very cool to be able to do that. And then, from my phone, I can upload those images into there instead of having to do roundabout things to get the images on my computer and then to my CRM system. That's a mess. I don't want to deal with that. Okay, so we talked about setting up those checklists. We also have the ability, so say you have a special situation, right? And for some reason you need to do something like let's say that they have a vehicle at the house that's abandoned, but it's a really cool like old car, right? Like it's like a like 1930s, like Mercedes or something like a very cool car that's probably worth quite a bit of money. And you want to have your acquisitions person try to throw that into the deal, right? Try to get that included in the deal. So this is kind of like a thing you can put in the note, but you want to make sure that they do it. And so what you can do is under the, let me see, I'm going to add a checklist item right here. And this is just a general one. I'm going to say, have them throw in the car. And actually, let me see if I want to, I can do at Amelia, and I can actually mention my teammate in that checklist item so that they know that that's referring to them and they can get a notification of that because that's something that they need to do. So I'm going to add that checklist item. And mentions are awesome. You can do mentions over notes as well, and then your team will get those notifications and then go over and check it out. And so it's a great way to communicate as a team. But if I go now over into my general checklist, I've got that one item, Amelia Earhart's supposed to complete it while they're there at that appointment. So how cool is that? You can create these one-off checklist items. If I put another property into that status, that's not going to affect it. It's not going to add that checklist item to throw in the car. This is just specific to this record. So it's very flexible to be able to do that kind of thing. All right, now, okay, and the next thing that I was going to talk about was improving and adding to your checklist as you come across new situations. And so, you know, we could have one like after, yeah, so I mean, that we already kind of talked about it. You just adjust it as you go. And the idea here was a cool one, was the creating a scheduled contact to send them a thank you card in the mail. So this is another just great tip. You know, even if you're experienced, you might not do this. And, you know, and I think Sharon Vornholt was sharing with me it again, how she does it. But, you know, basically after you go on an appointment and then, you know, you come back to your office, one of the checklist items you can add is to send a thank you card, a handwritten thank you card to that seller. Now, this is regardless of whether they accepted your offer or told you to go to hell. You, you send them a thank you card, a handwritten one, you know, just really quick as a nice thing to say, thank you for allowing me to make an offer on your house, or thank you for allowing me the opportunity to make you an offer, or whatever you want to say. This goes a long way, right? Because if their motivation changes, you know, they could think of you first because you were the only one that actually did something that went above and beyond to show that you actually cared enough. And it wasn't so much of just a transaction to you that you didn't want to bother with sending that. So that's another cool thing that you can do as a checklist item. All right, cool. Let's go back. So we've talked now about setting up workflow, right? Which is the pipeline, setting up your processes, which are the checklists to make sure that you and your team are doing what you're supposed to do in the system. Let's go over to here so I can find where I am in this whole thing. Automate, right? So you want to follow up so they can be done with an automated way that's right. It's more personalized and not automated seeming, because any automation that this completely smacks of automation sucks, right? I think it does the opposite of what you're trying to do. You know, if you do something and then, you know, submit a form online and then immediately get a text that's like 3 lines long, you know, no humanly possible way that could happen. Somebody actually typed that out. A machine just sent it. It's not very cool, right? So you want automation that doesn't feel like automation to save you time. The other thing are notifications so that you know what needs to happen and when, even when you're not in the system, right? We can't all be in FlipPilot 24 hours a day. Some people want to be, yeah, they can if they want, but like most of us, we're busy, right? So we're not in the system all day long, right? So notifications, I'm gonna show you all this in a minute. And then communication tracking of all the calls, texts, marketing campaigns, having those leads automatically come in, right? Because we could be busy looking at a rehab, looking at a property, getting another lead come in, a call, and we could think to ourselves, okay, I'm going to call them back after this. But then, you know, I kind of got into the negotiating and completely forgot. So when I get back to FlipPilot, it's always that new record's going to be there, right? If I had my call route integration set up to automatically put it in to remind me. So let's show really quickly, because we're on 50 minutes now. So let's go really quickly through this, setting up follow-up campaigns, the notifications, and the comm logs, because I think this is really big for what's going to improve people's lead to deal conversion numbers big time, right? Had I had this part of it back then, when I did those 495 leads in the 34 weeks, you know, that's what could have been the difference of 11 deals to like over 50 possible deals, you know, and it just, you know, I hate to think about it, but let's get right into showing you so that you don't, you know, make that same mistake. So we go back into FlipPilot. I'm going to set up a follow-up campaign. So if I go to follow-ups, I've got follow-up template selected here. I can create a sequence, right? And if you guys stick around to this call, where I'm going to give you those emails, right, that you can copy and paste for 3 different scenarios. So stick around for that. But let's say this is, I'm going to set one up for no contact made. This happens quite a bit, actually. You'd be surprised. Like somebody will submit a form from the website and you try to call them, they don't pick up. And what are you going to do, right? So my from name that I'm going to do for any emails that go out automated, because I have the pro account connected to my G Suite email, I'm going to have those emails come out showing that it's from me, my name. Any text messages that go out, I'm going to have them just default to my website phone number. And I'm going to go ahead and create and view this. So here's a really cool thing that we've built into this. If you have the pro account and you've integrated CallRail, you can specify for any record that goes into this follow-up sequence to send out automated text, emails, and creating scheduled contacts for you to manually call or do stuff like that. Any text that go out from the sequence, you can specify that that record should use the phone number that that person, that seller, contacted you from, right, or with, right? So if this seller contacted me through my website phone number, that's the number that they call me from, and I wasn't able to make contact with them, I want, whenever I add that person to this follow-up sequence, to automatically have FlipPilot send them text messages from the number that they saw of mine that they used, right? So FlipPilot does that work for you to map those numbers and what the messages should go through and how. So let's go ahead and create the steps. So the first step, I'm going to do a day offset. I'm going to just do 0 because I want that to immediately go out. And I'm going to send them a text that says, you know, got your, or saw your call, or missed your call, would love to talk with you. Call me at, and then you can put whatever your phone number or whatever, just call me, because they have the number, right? You texted the number so they can call it again. The cool thing here is also in other sequences, if you want, we have variables, right? So this is the part that makes it to where automation doesn't seem so automated. If you have in that record, you have their name, you can use the primary contact's first name to say, you know, Johnny or whatever inside the text message. So it seems more likely that that's not automated. They don't know it's automated because you have certain things. You can put the property address into that message. You know, I'm contacting you again about your property at blah, 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 right? So you can do that kind of stuff. That FlipPilot will switch over from the information from the record to send those texts out, which is really what you want to make use of, because you want your text to be different and personalized like that. But for just sake of time, I'm going to do this. The other thing that we also have is snippets. So if you find yourself texting or doing notes with the same message all the time, you can create snippets. I don't have any right now, but you can create snippets that you can have automatically inserted using snippets, right? So if you find yourself typing the same thing over and over again, you can make use of snippets. All right, so I'm going to add this step. So now I've got one that's going to go out immediately as soon as I add a record to no contact made follow-up sequence. So if I want to add a new step for, like, you know, a day later, I might say, okay, I tried to call them already before I put them in the sequence. Now the sequence is automatically going to send them a text. The next day, I want FlipPilot to remind me to manually call them. So I'm going to do a scheduled contact for call, right? I can say that this scheduled contact could be a manual text or email, or sending them a piece of mail, or even a task, like a task for my team to do some research or something. So I'm just going to say, try to contact to get house info. I'm going to add that step. So now I've got that one created. And you can see, you can keep doing this. You can keep creating these. If you have the pro account, you can use the automated text and emails. If you're going to get the other account I'm going to show you about later, where you can get FlipPilot for free, you can create scheduled contacts in these sequences to remind you when to do your follow-up. So that just keeps track of it for you. All right. So just for sake of time, I'm just going to do that. I think you guys get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save and exit. And that's going to create my no contact made follow sequence, right? If I want to manage it, I can manage it, do all that stuff. So now let's go back over to our pipeline. Let's say that I want to add this guy over into, so I couldn't make contact with them. I tried to, I couldn't make contact with them. I'm going to go ahead and put them, you know, I did schedule contacts for maybe 3 days. There was no getting through. So I'm going to throw them into this automated one because I'm focused on my other leads and stuff like that at that point. So in the past, I would, at that point, I wasn't able to get a hold of them that day or the next day. Most of the time, that's where it would stop. Most of the time, I would say, okay, well, they're not picking up. That's it, right? But smart investors will set up automated follow-up reminders over a long period of time because that person reached out to you for a reason, right? And if you're having trouble contacting them, most likely your competition is too. So who's going to end up getting it, right? If most people say, well, forget it, I couldn't get a hold of them. This is how you get that edge, right? So this is why I'm saying if you're new, this is how software can help you get those deals, right? Like the problem is that you don't have a whole lot of leads. So you got to maximize the chances of turning any of those leads into deals. This is how FlipPilot helps you do that. So in this record, I'm going to say put in follow-up. I'm going to select my no contact made sequence. I don't need to select what phone number because I chose for that sequence to automatically use whatever campaign number that person, that seller contacted me from. So it already knows. So I'm going to say start follow-up sequence. Now here's the cool part. It's going to say this record will no longer be in your pipeline. Okay, and the reason for that, if I close this, it's no longer there. The reason for this is because we've done what we could to work it, right? At this point, it's going into automated. It's going into the background. FlipPilot is now managing this for me. And if they reach back out to me or I get a hold of them, they're going to come back onto my pipeline. And I'll be actively working that again. Because the situation here is over time, you're going to end up with hundreds of these follow-up properties that are happening, these records that are just being worked, right? Like just contact, going out to them, trying to get them to reach back out to you and you know, pick up that negotiation to be able to buy that property. So if I click on my follow-ups, I can see here, well, actually it's already gone through because it created those scheduled contacts. So let me go back over to, yeah, okay, follow-ups. So orphan records. So this one here is the one that I added. And it's actually already processed those records. We got a lot of people on the internet here. This is going to take a little bit of time here. Okay. All right. So now if I go down into the record, I'm going to see my follow-up sequence log, right? And it shows completed because the text went out immediately. So that's sent, and it says when it's sent. It's sent today at 10:59, which was a minute ago. And then a scheduled contact was also created because that is a manual action that can be performed later. So it can already show up in your scheduled contacts. So that's why this has already been this is already done. It's already run through this, which is very cool. They already got the text. If I go over to my scheduled contacts, I now see that scheduled contact right here, but it's not due till tomorrow, right? So if I'm working this, I can go ahead and, you know, see 7 days out if I want to, if I'm really, you know, a go-getter and I'm going to work all my scheduled contacts early, I can do that as well. You can see all kinds of information here too as you work these scheduled contacts. But you notice also that this ended up in orphan records once it was done, okay? And that's why we got the badge up here. Orphan records, basically, this is how no lead ever slips through the cracks, right? Even after a ton of follow-up. This is how stuff doesn't slip through the cracks. No lead is left behind. Because after a follow-up, you're going to have these in orphan records. So then you can come back and say, okay, this has already run through my follow-up. I couldn't get a hold of them, but let me look at it, okay? Oh yeah, I like this house. This one's going to be a good deal if I could ever get it. And I noticed You know, you can see all the activity over here. And I'm saying, okay, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and just, you know, add this again to another follow-up. So I can take it out of the old follow-up and put it into a new one. Or, so let me go ahead and do that, right? So now it's back on the pipeline, back where it was whenever I took it out. So now I could either put it in follow-up to start a whole new sequence and keep it going, right? Or if I say, you know what, this one kind of stunk. This, I don't know, either they owe too much. It's not very likely I'm going to make a deal anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this as dead. All right. So now that's been marked as dead. So what happens is on the pipeline, it's not there because I'm not working anymore. The thing is dead. And if I go over to the end of my pipeline, you'll see we have two buckets. We have, I hope you can see this. I think you should be able to. We have sold for anything that got sold, and we moved it off of our pipeline because we're no longer working it because we sold it. We made money. And we have dead. And so I can see over in dead, I've got that record, right? I can resurrect that if I want to for whatever reason. But it's just a way to activate, I'm sorry, to archive things that you're no longer working, because you don't need to clutter up what you're working on a day-to-day basis with all the old stuff, right? So that's how you do that. We have the bucket over here for spam. So if you get a spam call or something like that, you simply drag it over there so it doesn't affect your stats. Okay, so I showed you things for follow-ups there. Follow-ups are super powerful. You can do them for all sorts of things. If you're prospecting, right? So let's say you have a wholesaler, right, that has deals from time to time. You can set up a automated follow-up sequence, create a record just with that contact, right, for this wholesaler, and then add them to a follow-up sequence to have messages go out to them saying, hey, you have any deals coming up? Like, do you have anything recent that you haven't put out yet that's coming up that I could take a look at? You can do the same thing with realtors, you know, just a way for the system to help you try to pull in some new leads. All right, and then notifications, right? Everybody that has an account has the ability to do notifications so that you can see, you can get it, if you have a pro account, you can get texts. So anytime a new record's created, you can get a text for that, any new leads. Otherwise, you'll get emails. If you have the starter account, you get emails. Anytime a record goes red, you can get a notification about that. When you're mentioned, you know, I would set mentions as a text, so that you get a text notification on your phone anytime there's a mention of you from a team member. Follow-up sequence gives you a warning. You can get an email about that. So the reason why you would get messages, warnings for follow-up sequences is if you have the short codes in your message and that property or record didn't have that information, it's going to skip it, right? And then you'll get a notification, hey, like that person didn't have a name in the field, so we didn't send this record. And so also it saves you from the embarrassing thing of an automated system sending out like a text or an email with first name. You know, it's ridiculous. So that eliminates that problem. All right. Matthew saying, I like the follow-up sequence. Cool. Yeah, that's really good. It's helpful to use that for prospecting as well. So the next thing is the communications, right? I love this part of FlipPilot because this is kind of where oversight comes into play, right? Because you or your team are taking care of new records and calls and stuff like that. At the end of the day, if you want to come in, especially if you have a team, right, and you're using a pro account, you can come into comms and you can look at, for this day, what were all of the communications? We got an inbound call, got another inbound call, we got an outbound text, and we can see all this. We can see where that record currently is. This one's archived as not a lead, so that was spam, okay? This inbound call is in the pipeline for appointment set, so I know where this record is. If I click it, I can see it, right? Any of these I can click and I can see. And then all this kind of stuff. So you have all this information, so you can know what happened each day, right? You can see what's going on with all the calls and all the stuff that kind of happened. The other thing that we have is this idea of addressing inbound communications. And this is really big. I think Don Chamberlain, I don't know if he's on this call or not, but you know, this was the big thing here for him was, as his team was working the leads, he would want them over here in the COM on the record itself to say that they listened to the recording or they called the person back or they did something with that inbound communication, right? They didn't just move the record over, but not try to make contact with them or address that inbound communication. So he would have them address it. Okay, it says who addressed it when. So whenever Don came into his account later in the day, he wouldn't go and click and check open all these records. What he would do is go to comms. And what he does, actually not did, but what he does is, and now I can see, okay, these have all been addressed. I can see who addressed them and what day. Now, if I have a whole lot of them, I can also filter. So if I want to filter by only the unaddressed inbound, all he'd have to do is click that, and he would see a list of just the unaddressed inbound communications. All right, or you can see only inbound communications, only outbound, or all communications. So it's a good way to filter. You can also filter pipeline by all sorts of things, but for time's sake, you know, I'll let you guys play around with that and figure that out. It's simple, just filters everything. Okay, so tons of power in the communication log. It's absolutely critical to know to know how you know what's going on with every record, to know like the notes. If you and your team are leaving notes for yourself, all of that stuff is here. And if I only want to see notes, I can just check off the other ones and see notes. Here's a note. It's a way to declutter this, right? But if I want to see everything that's gone on, I can choose to do that, or just communications. We keep everything that's happened over here in this timeline. It's very, very useful. You can assign users by doing this. So now I've got an assigned user to that. Amelia is assigned to this record, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and then marketing and stats, right? So over here, we have our campaigns. Told you we'd get to this. I'm going to go through it really quick. But this is where you set up any campaigns that you are working to get leads, right? Whether that's manual stuff like MLS, you know, referrals. If you get referrals, you can have that campaign in there and select the record to be from a referral. You can set up your website stuff. You can set up all of it, like whatever campaigns you're using, direct mail campaign. And then you can even specify which phone number from CallRail, if you have the Pro account with CallRail integrated, you can specify which phone number is for that campaign. That way, anytime there's a communication that comes in, a new lead from a call or something like that from that number, it's going to automatically say that it's from that campaign. Automatic attribution of marketing campaigns, which is cool because it's kind of hard to keep up with always finding out where that lead came from. And if you have the system automatically do that for you, you're going to do it, right? Because it's doing it for you. You don't actually have to do it. All right. So then, oh, thank you, Andy. It's cool. This is very cool, Danny. All right. Campaigns also gives you stats, right? So if I click into manage campaigns, I'm going to see stats on this. How many records were generated for that campaign, total cost. You can add your cost here. So that way it knows cost per record, all that kind of stuff. You can put in your projected profits for any leads that you have in the system and actual profits from the deals that you did. And that way it can actually show you return on investment for this marketing campaign. So it's going to show you what's going on with your marketing. Then we have our stats, right? So you can see this week, Monday to today, 2 leads have come in. 1 was spam. It's not a lead. Appointment set for 1 of them. How many appointments were canceled, dead leads, sold deals, all this kind of stuff in here. And the cool thing that we did with this one, which I absolutely love, this makes it so nice. You don't have to guess at what constitutes these numbers, right? Like 2 leads, which ones did we get this week? I don't remember what the leads were. I can click view records and I can see them, and I can even go into each one of them right here. Not have to go back to the pipeline, not have to go to follow-up. It's all right here. I can view these, check them out. You know, we got internet slow down here with all this. Come on. You have the screen share and everything. All right, well, I'm gonna go back anyway because we're in time crunch here, but that'll come up. That just came up. All right, but that's what you can see what constitutes that number right there. And then when you scroll down, the cooler part is what's most important, right? Because you can keep track of your key performance indicators, but you want to see what's trending. Like, how is this trending? Are we getting more leads every month? Are we getting less? Are we setting as many appointments every month? FlipPilot gives you the quarter breakdown, right? By quarter, and then you can go across the board and see, you know, how the trending is happening. So this is going to keep you on top of that. All right. Andrew's doing the strong thing, so the icon there. Okay, so let's go back over. There's a ton of yeah, I could spend probably 3 hours just showing you guys all this stuff. This is the tip of the iceberg for FlipPilot. And, but I know that, you know, we've all got stuff to do here. So I'm gonna move through pretty quickly now. What comes next, right? The objective is to fill FlipPilot with leads, right? And work them through the pipeline to profit. You know, integrating with the pro account for CallRail and webhooks so that your web submissions from your website automatically come into FlipPilot so you can work them from there. And if you're newer, you know, really, we can learn all, like for years, we can learn this industry, this business. But if you're serious about getting into the business, you got to take action, right? And the first thing is to get the phone ringing, is to get motivated sellers, right? You got to get in contact with people wanting to sell their house. So the objective then becomes filling up that new column within FlipPilot, right? So I urge you to make use of FlipPilot to get you to work on putting leads in there, right? And then as you grow, you can tweak your machine. You can watch your stats. You can see where the ball is being dropped. You're getting a lot of leads, but you're not getting a lot of appointments. Why is that, right? If you look at the stats, you're looking at that, you can figure out what's going on. Tweak your machine where it needs to be tweaked. For me, I wasn't getting deals, so I would say I need more leads. Well, guess what? Like I showed you that graphic up here in the beginning, there's a whole lot more going on inside of the black box that is your machine. It's not just more leads coming in. You've got a broken piece, you know, this gas escaping here or whatever, you know, is what's happening, and you can fix it. And so FlipPilot will help you as you grow, see that with your stats and all that kind of stuff. And then grow your team if that's your thing. So you might be wondering, like, is FlipPilot right for you? If you don't have a system that contains your workflow and processes in an easy to use format they're actually going to use, you're going to want FlipPilot, right? And if you follow up, if you're not really doing follow-up, like, and not being consistent about it, this is absolutely for you, because that's where the ball is being dropped probably for 90+% of all real estate investors, regardless of experience. If you're losing out on deals because this organization's causing those leads to slip through the cracks, maybe do a little bit of follow-up, but then after that, like, it's just forgotten. You know, you need a system like this. Also, if you have the false belief that software is only for investors that are already doing deals, I hope that this presentation's helped convince you that that's not really the case. I don't know when I drew on that. I guess somebody else drew on the screen here. Okay. FlipPilot 2.0, you say. I don't know how to clear that. Anyway, FlipPilot 2.0 is what this is. And here's what you're going to get today for signing up for FlipPilot 2.0. This is the pro account, right? You get drag and drop pipeline, like I showed you, the automated follow-up sequences, the marketing campaign tracking, the CallRail integration, which is like, it's just insane how much value that brings to the system, to be able to link phone numbers to campaigns, to listen to call recordings, to track your inbound and outbound call logs, your text logs, being able to call out from FlipPilot using that number, being able to text out of FlipPilot using those numbers, record being created from any new call or text messages, the Google Maps Street View image, the Google G Suite Gmail integration to be able to send out emails from follow-up, Drive, like I showed you, calendar, schedule contact reminders, the import export. So if you have stuff in another system, you can import those into FlipPilot. You can also export out of FlipPilot. And the export's being used by some people for doing like mass text and stuff like that. So you have a way to export and put into another system, do those mass text and stuff. We leave that kind of stuff to the people that specialize in it, right? Because if we try to add that in, we're not going to be as good because that's their focus. So that's why that's so much more powerful doing that. Webhooks, if you got a website, you're going to want to set up the webhooks so you can get those leads directly with all the information into FlipPilot. And the cool thing is we built FlipPilot so that when you have a two-step form, right? If you're using Lead Propeller or using Carrot, you likely have a two-step form. They put in a little bit of information on the first form, and it takes them to the second form of your website, and they fill that out. If you don't have a smart software system, CRM or whatever, you're going to get 2 records from every submission, right? And then you got to deal with that. You know, the FlipPilot will take that and be able to create 1 record from the 2 pieces of information, so you don't have to do it. All right, you got your stats and your KPIs, mentions, notes, snippets, custom fields, notifications. And on top of that, because we didn't want to have complicated pricing, we want to keep everything simple. That's one of our core values in the company is simple. And we just made it unlimited users, unlimited records, unlimited follow-ups. And this launch price that we're going to be talking about here in a second is locked in for life, okay? So this isn't just a temporary, so many months for this price, it's locked in. So I hope you take advantage of it. But that way also, as you grow your team, you're not fighting off, because we all do this, right? When you have to pay so much more to add 1 more user because it takes you over that threshold to the next package, like you do whatever you can to avoid it. We just created unlimited users, right? So you got a team of 10, you can use it. It's going to be the same price as a team of 1 or 2. All right. So similar systems cost well over $250 a month and require setup fees of like $500 or more, right? So even after you sign up, you don't get to use it right away because you got to wait for some service to help get you set up. I think you saw how simple FlipPilot is to not require us to hold your hand to set it up. Like we built it so that you can get in and just use it without watching, 20 hours of videos, right? Or having somebody have to walk you through getting it set up. Today, you're going to be able to lock in your launch price of just $137 a month, which to me is an absolute no-brainer. You can go to flippilot.com/special. We have that page up. Josh, if you confirm that, I'm pretty sure that we did. So go over to flippilot.com/special. You can see and take part and get the pro account for that. There's no setup fees, right? Because I just told you there's nothing we need to do to walk you through setup. We do have videos for setting up some of the webhooks and call rail integration. Super simple. And we even have phone support, right? Go figure, right? Software company that you can actually call. That's, people absolutely love that. So it's been great. Eric Olson, good friend of mine, actually, he got into FlipPilot early, and he put this on Facebook. Took me 3 minutes 47 seconds to learn how to use it because I put him in without giving him any training or walkthrough or anything. And he said it took him 3 minutes 47 seconds to learn how to use it. So that's pretty cool. Now, so if you're interested in the pro account, go ahead and head over there now for that, the flippilot.com/special. And if you're just getting started in this business, we do now have a free account, okay? And so I urge you to do that, to build an organized business as you get into this. And, it might be time to ditch the notebook. I wish I had many years before I did. And here's what you're going to get today for the new free account. You're going to be able to get a single user account so you can get in there and do stuff. You can share that account with your partner or whatever if you have 2 people getting started. Drag and drop pipeline like we showed. You get the automated follow-up sequences, which won't allow you to send automated text or emails, but you can set up those scheduled contacts with the different intervals so you can manually keep track of your follow-up. You can do marketing campaign tracking, so you can set up those marketing campaigns. You can do the stats and KPIs, note snippets, custom fields. The Google Map and Street View image shows up on all the records. You can get email notifications and unlimited records. And so you're basically getting everything except for what comes with those integrations. You can't do the webhook. You can't do the call rail integration and that kind of stuff. The integrations aren't possible for that because that's a lot more work involved there. But this will get you started. You can put your leads in. You can set up your workflow. You can set up your processes through those checklists and organize your business, right? So that you're more likely to turn those leads, those precious, precious leads that need to be nurtured, into deals, and then profit, right? To grow your business, quit your job, all that kind of stuff. So if you're not generating a lot of leads right now, there's going to be a bonus for signing up today. Like I said, Don Costa is giving access to lead generation training. This is leftover, the single user account bit. But anyway, oh yeah, I guess I just forgot to change over. This is embarrassing. Yeah, so anyway, Don Costa's lead generation training. I think I have a slide somewhere else showing that. But basically, let me see here. He's got some different training about the KPIs that you should be tracking for your lead generation, the different channels, a breakdown and overview of different marketing channels you can use. He does somewhat of a deep dive into direct mail. He even gives you the phone script for when you're taking calls, exactly what to say, how to say it. And he's got a team, and he's got a lot of experience in this business as well. This stuff is super valuable, and he gave us access to give to you guys for signing up today. You're going to be able to log into an account there to be able to see this this training there. So it's very cool. That's very, very well worth it. Now, what people are saying is, you know, fantastic product. We've been using FlipPilot for months. This is from Don Chamberlain. It's very intuitive, requires very little training, if any. Everyone on our team was able to pick it up immediately, and we've never looked back. Unlike most products that require a lengthy ramp-up process, the ability to quickly adapt to the FlipPilot methodology and to fully integrate your business is second to none. So FlipPilot's a leader in the space, moving out of the old list-style management of data into a much more user-friendly and enjoyable experience. Highly recommended. We thank you, Don, for that. He's been in through beta and helped us make some tweaks and everything. Danny Carter, FlipPilot's perfect CRM system for those of us looking to keep track of our leads and follow up with them consistently. Developers did a really good job by keeping it straightforward and simple. A lot of times CRMs, they try to take on the whole world at once and be all things to all people. We avoided that completely, focused on the core reasons you need a CRM in the first place, you know, to track our leads and follow up with them automatically or manually. You know, Danny wished that he could give us 40 stars for the new version, so thanks. And we've got a bunch of these. Gary, FlipPilot's amazing tool. You know, if you guys haven't yet, head over to flippilot.com/special. You can take advantage of both, you know, whether you're going to do the paid one, which you get a 14-day free trial for, or you're going to do the free account. You know, take advantage of it. You're going to get that Ready, Build, Scale lead training from Don Costa, and then also those 20 email messages, copy and paste email messages for your follow-up sequences for doing that as well. Gary Ochoa is saying that the whole whiteboard concept is fantastic for me. Shows me where I'm at in the process and who I need to contact next. He feels so much more organized using it and encourages you to try it. You know, he knows you would be glad you did. Jonathan, Joanna, they both love FlipPilot. They love the follow-up system, very user-friendly. They tried a couple other CRMs and would choose FlipPilot over all the competitors. Although customer service has not been needed that much. When they needed it, we were very prompt to respond. Extremely helpful. And that's thanks to Ginger, Matt, Nathan. We got a great customer team, and we have, like we said, we have a phone number. So if you need help, you can call. Mike Newby, good friend of mine, said, absolutely love this CRM. It's intuitive, simple, no fluff, very well organized, minimal clicks to get what's needed, so easy to use. So I think, as you can see, you know, it's the simplicity, right? Powerful. Whenever we set out to create 2.0, we were looking at what are we even needing a system for, right? Because I think, you know, sometimes, you know, a lot of the systems being put out there will give you a laundry list of stuff that most of us don't even use, right? And it's more of just a marketing thing to get you into the system by having this long laundry list of all this stuff that just ends up getting you bogged down and confused about everything that's going on. We wanted to keep it simple because the purpose of the software is to turn leads into deals, into more profit, and to make an efficient business, right? Like a lot of the bells and whistles for marketing lists and for this other stuff, you know, I think it robs from making the focus be a simple, easy to use system that you're going to use right? That's the key. We can buy stuff all day long, but if we don't use it to benefit our business, to make more, to make it to where we're not burned out, frazzled, and fried at the end of every single day, then what's the point, right? And with us doing this today, you can go over to flippilot.com/special. You can get your free account. I'm not sure how many people over time we're going to let into this free account. We're going to try to keep the doors open for that for quite a while, but I can't promise when that's going to stop. But we also have that pro account. So if you're already working this business, you know this is a good investment to turn more of those leads into deals. Take advantage of that account as well. Like I said, we have the support, we have the phone number, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try to answer some of these questions. So if you do have questions, there's a chat box. Now, if you sign up, you'll get an email that has the link over to get into Don Costa's lead training. And you'll also get a PDF of the messages that you can copy and paste for the email follow-up. Dakota is asking to talk a little bit about Lead Propeller. That's outside of the conversation. Lead Propeller, the real estate investor websites, they have all the content for you, for an investor to be able to set up a website and have it live within a couple minutes. There's a lot more on the website. And our support team, if you have questions, you can put that into the chat box, and we can answer those questions about Lead Propeller. But I'd like to stick to FlipPilot on this one. Yeah, and Carson, there's a lot of great ideas and stuff, plans for the future with FlipPilot. Obviously, and people that have been in the system and through beta can tell you that, we've been doing a lot of releases, like pretty much every week, every 2 weeks. We're trying to go in the direction that makes most sense, to keeping it in line with being simple. But we're going to let the users, right, the users using the system, kind of vote for what gets done next, so that we're building what you guys need and want to improve your businesses. So, yeah, we definitely, and anybody that's been in the system knows that, like, we've been listening, and we do build out what makes sense according to that path. But so we do have a Facebook group actually too, that you can, once you join, you can get into that Facebook group, and that's where we get a lot of the recommendations for now. So other people can chime in too, and if they say, yeah, that's absolutely critical, we can look at putting that into our development plans. Beth was asking if the free account is time-based. No, it's not time-based. If you get that free account, we're not going to kick you out of it at any certain point. So yeah, don't worry about using it for a little bit and then being kicked out, or being forced to pay for a paid account. That's not going to happen. It's not time-based. So yeah, so there's no reason not to go over there and do that, right? Like, so flippilot.com/special. Cheryl's looking for the Don Costa info on flippilot.com. Where do I go locate that? Well, the training itself is, let me see if I can't log into that. Now I can show you guys what that training is, because that slide got messed up. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. Obviously, I took advantage of it. I got into that. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'm going to switch the screen over to show you guys this. So this is the training that Don Costa provided. Let me switch this over. Don's awesome. If you guys don't listen to Flip Talk podcast, check it out if you haven't before. Don's great. He's definitely a giver, and he's in this business, still operating his business, flipping houses, and just knows what he's talking about. So when you log in, when you create that account, so once you sign up for FlipPilot, right, free or paid, either way, you're going to get an email with a link to register your free account into this, which you should be seeing right now. And you can see the welcome, watch this video first, keys to success with lead generation, the marketing channels and lead gen sources, talks about the best list to start with, building a roadmap for marketing success, you got to plan that out, secrets to success with direct mail. It's a 17-minute video. What KPIs and why are they good to know? This is huge. A lot of people just put a bunch of marketing out there, see what sticks, but don't really know what sticks because they're not really tracking the right numbers. He's going to show you that in this training. The scripts and contracts and other tools. So I'm telling you, there's a ton of stuff in this, right? Like there's absolutely no reason to not get that free account, like for FlipPilot, to get access to all this stuff. So this is all the kind of stuff. Hopefully that answers the question for you, Beth. Thanks, Poem. Appreciate you saying that. Looks amazing. Very streamlined, focused. Great job. Appreciate that. Yeah, we've worked really hard on this. Let's see. Sales agent can see all calls, SMS, emails, and appointments or other activities scheduled for the day or future date. Yeah, from what we showed in there from the scheduled contacts list and then the records in certain columns. And then you can assign those users to whichever records you want them to focus on. And then they can filter the pipeline for that. And again, if you haven't yet, it's flippilot.com/special, and you can do that. Let's see. Okay, Matthew, he said, maybe I missed it, but is there an easy way to create leads that come from other sources, such as driving for dollars? Yeah, and that's basically, I mean, if you want to put the information to a spreadsheet and import it, we have the ability to import. We don't recommend using FlipPilot right now as like a prospecting thing if you have thousands of leads, because you're going to put those in your pipeline. The thing is more of if you're doing driving for dollars, typically you don't have that many, so it's okay and be useful for that if you want to do the imports there. Now, if you want to manually add any records for any other sources, you just go over here to add. You can see all the different stuff you can add, but you want to add a record and you can put in the property information, which campaign. Oh, I'm not even sharing this. That's what happens when you don't, you have everybody muted. Okay, so you can import. So I was showing that a minute ago, but nobody could see it. So you can import those, but then also over here on add. So if I go to pipeline, you can basically from anywhere add any of these things. So I can add the record, I can set the campaign for it. And if I only have contact info, I can just put contact info. I don't have to put the property address or anything if I don't know it. So I can leave that blank. You know, just put something there, and then you can create that without the property if I don't know the property address. Alternatively, you can put the property address, but no contact info if you don't have that yet. And then you can create a checklist, you know, driving for dollars column maybe, and then have a checklist where they need to put the, you know, the information into there. Hey, no problem. Yeah, I'm glad to show how to do that. All right, Andy, mind blowing, all signed up. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you joining up and being a part of that. Does a free account to test allow you to also have an additional user like a sister or spouse? No, the free account is just for a single user. You can, you know, if it's for a spouse or somebody on your team, you know, you can share that login. You guys can both log in to do that. Can you upgrade the pro account at a later date as business scales? Absolutely, Liz. You can do that, and then you're going to have all your information still in there. So you don't have to transition accounts. As soon as you feel like it, you just upgrade, and then all your records are still right where they were, but you just have more power, more functionality. Awesome. Looks like we got a lot of people that showed up and stayed. It's very cool. You guys supporting us at FlipPilot. This whole team, I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of lines of code and like all of the work that's been going into all of this stuff to get all this done. It's amazing what we've done, and I'm very proud of it, very proud of the team. And then everybody out there listening to the podcast and supporting all through all of this stuff. You know, I know a lot of people have been waiting a long time for FlipPilot 2.0 to come out. So thank you again for your patience and for joining us. You can tell I don't talk this much usually. I'm more of an introvert. So I'm kind of even losing my voice at this point. All right, let me see if there's more questions. Matthew, super excited about this. Either version's what he needs. Liz says, as a former software engineer and consultant, thank you for building this. Very impressive, excited to get started. Awesome, Liz. Appreciate that feedback. Beth says, well done. Appreciate you. Great work. Thank you. Matthew, you've been waiting since beta came out at Flip Hacking Live. It's amazing how much time has passed since then. Yeah, I'm just glad that we've used what we've learned. And I'm kind of glad that those, the situation with the last one, clicking around and it was a confusing system, happened so that we would redevelop and come up with this. So everything's got the silver lining and better things come from it. Document generation is something we're talking about in the works, Michael. We don't currently have that just yet. Per account, do you have a master account and then subsequent associate accounts? Yeah, we have the idea of owners within the account for users. So either you're an owner user or not an owner user. So if you got someone that you want to be able to do like settings and stuff like that, you can have them as an owner user. That's that's what we have right now for that. I'm going to scroll up here and see if there's any other answers. And thank you, Josh and Ginger, everybody on the team for helping answer questions during this call. All right, we still got 51 participants. Hopefully you guys have gone over to flippilot.com/special and taken advantage of this. If you have questions at all, like put those in the chat box. That's what I'm looking at right now. David says, we're the best. Care to help people? Yeah, appreciate that. David said he's having a hard time tracking his leads. It's really going to help him. And then once he scales up, he'll definitely get to the pro version. And then House, I hope that's your name, House, because that's like you were just born to be in real estate, right, with a name like House. So I hope that is your name. But House says, so I should skip starting free Podium and go with free FlipPilot. Absolutely. Yeah, you say you had the original Podium real estate pack, but not used it yet. Yeah, this is built specifically for us as real estate investors. And yeah, we're constantly improving it. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. And I'm being asked what plane this is, and I'm embarrassed that I don't even remember what it was, but I think it's either, and maybe someone watching this maybe knows better than I do, but a Corsair maybe, or like a, yeah, I'm sorry, but like my mind is so focused on this. I don't know, I think that's what it is. I'm kind of embarrassed about that. Yeah, Eli, thank you, the rest of the team. Awesome, man, appreciate that. Appreciate all this feedback you guys are giving. And Poem, yeah, absolutely. You can share the sign up page if you've got other investors that you guys know. If you guys, I know you got that group, I think Poem up there in Central Texas. Yeah, definitely share that with the group. You guys can share that flippilot.com/special with whoever you want. Obviously we're trying to help people get into the business, actually make, some deals, get those leads turned into deals. So yeah, as many people as possible. That's what we're here for. We went through beta for a long time to get to this point to be ready to do this without, getting in and having things go bonk. So you guys rest assured that it's going to be as you've seen. Yeah, there's nothing else that I'm going to be showing, I don't think, unless there's a specific question. So if you've been waiting to sign up because you didn't want to miss something that's going to be shown, head over there now. I'm just answering questions and stuff. flippilot.com/special is the place to go. Yeah, Carson, you don't have to sign up right at this moment. That link will be available for you for a little while. We urge you to, though, just take advantage as you can to get access to the things like the training in the from Don Costa and also those messages. Yeah, thanks for being on. Yeah, the text blast and voice blast stuff, as mentioned earlier, what current people, the current clients that are using it are doing export and then putting it into those other systems and then doing the blast out through there. If we were to, awesome, dude, go flip that house, Carson, is to, and we're looking at integration in the future, but yeah, for right now, it's more of doing it where you're just exporting out. Now, what's happening, I think Eric B., good friend of mine also, who's helped us tremendously through beta and get things adjusted and give us great ideas. What he's doing is he's using, I forgot what systems he was using, but he was using a text blast platform, and then he has that set up through Zapier to automatically put any responses into FlipPilot. And so that makes sense, right? Because when you're doing the mass text to prospects, you know, those are prospects. You're not actually working those leads yet. And so if you have it set up from the other system to automatically push through Zapier when someone responds as a new record right in the new column of FlipPilot, then you and your team can work the new lead. So that's the way that's working out. People are doing it. And it's very cool to have that, because that way only the people that are like saying, hey, you know, I'm interested in you looking at my house, making an offer, the ones that you're working inside of this system. So, and again, yeah, share this. If you guys know other real estate investors, you know, looking to have a software system to throw out that notebook or the spreadsheets, yeah, definitely share that. FlipPilot.com/special. Again, appreciate everybody being on the call and for all the kind words and all that. We worked really hard for this, and I want to thank our team again too, because without them, none of this would have been possible. And obviously, we have an amazing team to build something this cool. So, thanks everybody. I'm going to leave this up just for a couple more minutes, and then we're going to close this out, okay? You're welcome, Jess. Welcome, Patrice. Liz. Thank you guys so much. All right, Palm, take care. I'll be back. All right, still 21 people. You guys have any questions? I'm going to close this out. If not, and be offering to build integration for different systems. No, we're open to integrating. It's just a matter of letting us know and then seeing how that might work and whether it fits with, you know, the direction we're taking FlipPilot. So, yeah, I mean, if you want, you send me an email at danny@flippilot.com, Danny at flippilot.com, and I'll get that. Just let me know what you're thinking. I'm not sure what you're exactly referring to. Welcome, Derek, Dwayne. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Stay awesome. Get FlipPilot special, flippilot.com/special, and you take advantage of that stuff. So thanks again for being on. We went way over 45 minutes, like an hour and 45 minutes. This is what always happens. And thanks again for the team. All right. See you guys later.